40 days to PMP exam success, situational question daily drills. We'll be taking a look at every task in the PMP exam content outline. The exam is broken down into 35, and this is the very first one. Let's jump into the questions. First question today. You are a project manager at PLI Incorporated on an agile project, and you've noticed a growing conflict between two team members over project priorities. The disagreement has escalated, impacting the team's productivity. What should you do next? A. Observe the situation and refer the team members to the team charter or social contract and ask them to solve any conflict you are perceiving. B. Interpret the source and stage of the conflict and analyze the context for this disagreement before deciding on the next steps. C. In the spirit of Agile, let the team members resolve their issues without intervention to promote independence and maturity. D. Immediately reprimand both team members for their behavior in front of the team. Choose an option, and I'll reveal the answer shortly. All right, if you need more time, hit the pause button. On the exam, you have roughly between 1 minute to 1 minute and 15 seconds max to answer each question. Very rapidly, we can disqualify some of these options. Observing the situation further doesn't make good sense because this is a growing conflict. You've noticed this growing. To just observe the situation and ask them to go take a look at the team charter, it's too late for that, right? This is becoming worse. It says the disagreement has escalated and it's impacted the team's productivity. So don't just observe. That's not as proactive. Option B, interpret the source and stage of the conflict and analyze the context. That's not a bad thing to do. C, in the spirit of Agile, letting them resolve their issues without intervention is actually worse than A, because that's not doing anything at all, not even referring them to a team charter. So it's not C. D, reprimanding both team members in front of the team is definitely not the way to go. Even reprimanding them in private is not the way to go. It doesn't help. You need to move the situation forward. This needs to be the mindset for the exam. So the best option is B. Interpret the source and stage of the conflict and analyze the context for this disagreement before deciding on the next steps. Let's move to our next question. So this is the answer to the first one. Understanding the root cause and context of the conflict is crucial before taking steps to resolve it. This approach allows for a more informed and effective resolution. Question 2. I'll let you take a read on the screen. During a project at Engineers R Us, a conflict arises between the engineering and marketing teams over the product features to be prioritized for production. As the project manager, how should you address this conflict? A. Decide on the priorities yourself based on available technical information and reports. Avoid consulting either team in your decision to avoid further conflict. B. Have a lessons learned session with the teams to understand what went well in the previous sprints to better understand the situation. C. Hold a meeting with representatives from both teams to understand their perspectives and reconcile differences. D. Ask senior management to make the decision, removing yourself from the conflict using the power of escalation since these are senior stakeholders. Which answer do you think is the right one? I'll give you a few seconds. All right, let's objectively look at this question. There is conflict. The conflict is about product features to be prioritized for production. We have two teams involved, engineering and marketing. With that in mind, let's take a look at options. Let's start from the bottom this time. Ask senior management to make the decision. This is a forcing technique. When you ask a third party to decide the outcome without any mediation from the parties involved, you're going into forcing mode. That is not the best way to proceed. It says using the power of escalation, not the best way to proceed at all. Let's take a look at C. Hold a meeting with representatives from both teams to understand their perspectives and reconcile differences. That's not a bad thing to do. Let's see if B offers something better. B, have a lessons learned session with the teams to understand what went well in previous sprints to better understand the situation. It says what went well. It didn't even ask for what may have gone awry in previous sprints. And saying have a lessons learned session does not move the situation much further. Understanding what went well does not really help us in our quest to solve this problem. It helps to some degree to understand what went well, but to solve conflict, you're going to need a lot more than what went well. You need to understand if anything happened prior, but then you also need to look forward, like option C that talks about reconciling differences, right? This just talks about understanding the situation. This option C talks about understanding the situation and reconciling differences. So just looking at them at a face value perspective, option B is not as good as C. Okay, even though there's nothing wrong in understanding what went well, but it doesn't really move it forward. Taking a look at A. A says decide on priorities yourself. Now that's a forcing technique in disguise, right? Based on available technical information and reports. This means without any dialogue. It's not very good. It says avoid consulting either team in your decision to avoid further conflict. So two things. There's avoidance going on, but on the higher level, this is more like a force or direct approach. So A, B, and D are not the best options. The best option here is C. Hold a meeting with representatives from both teams to understand their perspective and reconcile differences. The way I would like you to think on the exam when you come across these questions is to use process of elimination. Ask which one is force or direct, which one is avoid or withdraw, which one is compromise or reconcile. Which one is smooth or accommodate? Remember? And then which one is collaborate or problem solve? And that's more like C. So the best answer in this case, my friends, is C. Facilitating a discussion between conflicting parties helps understand different viewpoints and fosters a collaborative approach to conflict resolution. Let's move to the next one. As the Scrum Master for Agile World Limited, you've observed a conflict between a new team member and a veteran over the use of project management tools. The new member feels the old tools are outdated, while the veteran believes there's no need for change. What should you do next? I'll give you some time to think about the options after I read them. A, side with a veteran team member to maintain team harmony and loyalty as this is a long-standing team member on the project. B, take an impartial stand and recommend a trial period for new tools without discussing it with the team. C, organize a session to evaluate the pros and cons of current and potential new tools involving the entire team. D, have a face-to-face meeting with both team members to resolve conflict through compromise or reconcile. I'll give you some time. All right, well, let's take a look at the options. Again, you want to use the process of elimination. You want to use the process of going through the different conflict resolution approaches that are cloaked into the options. Let's start with A this time. Side with the veteran team member. Well, that's a dead giveaway. You don't side with any team member, even in the sake of harmony and loyalty, right? Even if they've been there for a long time, you do not take sides, right? You are objectively approaching the conflict. So it's not going to be A. B, take an impartial stand. That started off good, but then it went into and recommend. This is forcing in disguise. Recommend a trial period for new tools without discussing it with the team. This is not a good way to proceed. You should get team involvement. Moreover, this is Agile World Limited. You're a Scrum Master. You do not make the decisions for the team. That leaves us with two. C, organize a session to evaluate the pros and cons of current and potential new tools involving the entire team. Now, this uplifts the idea about consensus, team autonomy, getting the entire team to make a decision in the world of Agile, which is not a bad thing. Let's take a look at D. Have a face-to-face meeting with both team members. That started off good. To resolve conflict, started off good through compromise or reconcile. Well, you're limiting the options to just compromise a 50-50, compromise or reconcile, right? Because the same thing, smooth or accommodate would be, you know, up in the ante on one person's perspective, but compromise or reconcile only, that's just one out of five ways we could resolve the conflict. So again, D, even though it sounds like it's compromise or reconcile, it's almost like a forcing. You're trying to force the way the conflict should be resolved. It's kind of controversial, D. So it's not the best option. C is more like problem solving. This one right here, which is the correct answer, that's more like confronting, problem solving, collaborating. So the best answer to that one, my friends, is C. That's the logic. Involving the team in decision-making processes, especially when conflicts arise over tools and methodologies, encourages buy-in and may lead to a resolution that benefits the project, which is more like collaborate or problem solve. Let's take a look at scenario 4. In a project at PRG International, there's a conflict between the project sponsor and a key stakeholder regarding the project's direction. The stakeholder feels their concerns are being ignored. As the project manager, what is your next step? Is it A, support the project sponsor's direction since they are the entity supplying resources for the project and the ultimate authority? B, using the arbitration approach, suggest that the stakeholder follow along with the project sponsor's direction to move the project along, since the stakeholder is the ultimate decision maker. C. Cancel the project meetings pending until the stakeholder is able to clarify concerns and come to agreement with the project sponsor. D. Arrange a private meeting with the stakeholder to discuss and understand their concerns in depth. I'll give you a few seconds more. All right, well, let's take a look at the options. Again, putting on your hat of insights into the world of conflict, knowing what is compromise, reconcile, force or direct, collaborate or problem solve, you really want something that is more long lasting. You also don't want to be prescriptive. So A, support the sponsor's direction. Just that unilateral decision, boom, I'm going to support the sponsor because they're supplying resources and they're the ultimate authority is not good. They could actually be wrong. So you don't blindly support anyone because of position. B, using the arbitration approach. Now, arbitration is more in the world of procurement, right? We don't know if this is a procurement issue. It says a key stakeholder. So it's sketchy on that. But beyond the terminology, it says follow along with the project sponsor's direction. You know what arbitration is? Arbitration is just a softer form of force or direct. Because at the end of the day, the arbiter's decision, right? It's their decision what should happen at the end. There's a difference between mediation, which is more collaborative, versus arbitration, which is more decisive based on the presiding person's decision. So using arbitration suggests that stakeholder follow along, just saying, go with what the sponsor says. Again, it's more like a forcing. There's little collaboration there. So the rationale is not even very good since the stakeholder is the ultimate decision maker. Not good. Take a look at C. Cancel the project meetings. That's a big statement. They could be several project meetings. They could be status meetings. They could be phase end reviews. They could be phase exits and all that. So to say cancel the project meetings pending until the stakeholder is able to clarify concerns. And not just that, but come to agreement. You're trying to force agreement and you're also holding up the project. That doesn't make much sense. Not the best option. There's also some borderline undercurrent forcing going on until you can agree with the sponsor. We're not doing anything. Not the best. Let's take a look at D. Arrange a private meeting with the stakeholder, okay, to discuss and understand. Understanding is key. Understand their concerns in depth. What will this help you do? Understanding their concerns is going to help you know how to leverage the power of collaboration, because that's really what we're after. Collaborative ideas, collaborative work. So based on all the options, even though D is the shortest, D is the best. You want to arrange a private meeting, discuss and understand the concerns. So let's take a look at the next slide for the verdict. Understanding the stakeholders' concerns through direct communication can help in finding a resolution that aligns with the project's objectives while addressing the conflict effectively. And you know, the main purpose of these exercises, my friends, is to help you understand how to think on the exam. It's not just to go through a bunch of questions quick. It is really to give you more value on the thought process. If you can take this thought process and if you can apply it to every question you get on collaboration, on conflict, on stakeholder, on team, you will be right on point. So this is just day one. Do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe so that you'll be getting these messages when I come out with day two, all the way to 40, because we're going in for the kill on this one. If you need a book that can help you on your understanding of the PMP exam, to really get all the content down pat. It's modeled after the PMP exam content outline. Just going down to the immersion.hpmexam.com, and you will be able to get the PMP exam immersion book, immersion.hpmexam.com. This will help you tackle people, process, and business in a methodical fashion over 40 days. Also comes with a workbook to help guide your studying day by day. But you definitely want to get these videos where you hear me break down the logic. You want to develop the muscle memory, my friends, to help you break down the logic. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.